Hello everyone, it's Fabian from GFI. Welcome back to the channel. And for all those of you new here, this is your chance. Hit the subscribe button, please. Today we're going to do what everyone else seems to be doing today in football Germany right now, and that is discuss and debate about whether Bayern Munich should re-sign Jerome Boateng. The tabloids are full of it, and I think that's part of the reason why Bayern Munich in Germany is often called FC Hollywood, because news that at other clubs, such as, Leverkusen, Leipzig, Stuttgart, you name them, the ones that currently are around Bayern Munich at the top of the table, if similar things would happen there, it would barely make headlines in the local newspaper, but when you have something like that happening in Bayern, then of course the major tabloids like Bild, the front header, it's completely full with this. So we're going to talk a little bit about it. So what's happened is actually quite quick to summarize. About a week ago, Bayern Munich announced that their former defender, Jerome Boateng, will join their first team squad training. And he has done so for the past days, except of course for the days when the squad has been to Copenhagen in the Champions League. But Jerome Boateng has basically trained now for a week with the Bayern Munich squad. Now, Boateng is now 35 years old. He's a centre back, and he's a free agent, which means currently his past contract at Lyon had expired, he's currently not under any contract, so not contracted to any club. And he could be signed immediately by anyone until the end of the January transfer window. That's the special clause for free agents. Now, as I said, from Jerome Boateng's standpoint, he just wants to, he's kept himself fit. He's declared that he still believes he's got still some top-level football left in him, and he wants to attack again and play. So he needs some match fitness. And as I said, I think it's nothing of the unusual to have former veteran players, deserved players, return to the club where they had their highest and biggest success, and get the opportunity to train there. We've had that at Manchester United, Real Madrid. There's nothing spectacular about that, and those clubs usually grant these players that favor. Now, I just said successful period. What a success he had. I mean, Boateng was there from 2011 till 21 at Bayern. He's won, I think, 2 Champions League titles, 9 domestic trophies, championship trophies, and several cups and super cups. And he's been, I think, Germany Footballer of the Year once. I think he's been in the national team as well for 9 years. I would say for the most, pretty much that successful decade they had. He's been there. He's obviously won the World Championships. He's become World Champion in 2014 with the Germany team. So there isn't much that he hasn't won as a player. It's an absolute picture book career when you look at that. But of course, it's not just Bayern Munich granting Boateng that favor. In this case, it goes both ways, because you also happen to have a Bayern Munich squad that at 23 players is actually quite thin, and they're not thin up front. They have plenty of options and firepower, but they're quite thin at the back. They only have 3 center backs: Min-Jae Kim, they have Matthijs de Ligt, and they have Dayo Upamecano. Now, De Ligt is currently a little bit injured. Doesn't look too bad. It didn't look bad at all after the first hospital check, but now it seems to be around 4 weeks that he'll be out. That leaves it to 2, and Upamecano still obviously needs to manage his game time. He's fit, but there's something that keeps reoccurring. So he when you have a team like Bayern Munich that plays Champions League, is in the domestic cup. And then, of course, even if there is no games in the domestic league, then you still have a lot of national players that travel and play. So weeks with 2 or 3 games are nothing of the unusual. And then, of course, having just 3 center backs is a bit slim. And, of course, that happened when Bayern sort of messed up these last days of the transfer video. They transfer period. They let Stanisic go on loan to Leverkusen. Shortly after, Pavard wanted to move, and they let him go to Milan. And then in the last 2 days, despite trying, they couldn't get replacements for those players, and that's why they're a bit short here. And they even admitted that on their own account. So, matter of the fact is, until the winter transfer period, they cannot sign any players except free agents. And now you have a free agent, Jerome Boateng, who wants to train with them and who happens to be a centre back and who has actually been there for 10 years until 2 years ago, which means he still knows a couple of the players in the squad and who knows the club and the facilities, who obviously needs less time to settle in than probably any other guy who would come in from far away. So clearly this is not just Boateng wanting to train and get match fitness. It's also Bayern Munich having a close look at Boateng and just seeing like, how far is he? Where is he currently? Could he be an option to help us? Not to be the new center point of the centerpiece of their defense, obviously not, but someone who you could bring in the 70th or 75th minute and protect the other players, someone who you could put on the pitch against the second or third tier side in the cup, just to give the other players a little bit more rest, have a little bit more options, and I think they're obviously using that free opportunity to check him out, no question about that. And they indicated there will be a decision later today on whether they're gonna offer him a contract or not. From my point of view, it's absolutely clear. I mean, Boateng certainly is entering the final straight of his career as a professional footballer. I'm pretty sure Boateng knows that. So the kind of contract he could be offered here clearly going to be, very much on performance-related components. I don't think this will be an expensive signing for him because, yes, the alternative is clubs like Darmstadt or Bochum clubs, that sit at the bottom and fighting against relegation. Decide, we need some reinforcements and offer him a contract. And of course, if you have the choice, Bayern or Bochum, and I think from Boateng's standpoint, you rather play for Bayern. I think money is not the first important thing here. It's not about much money anyway, compared to his earlier wages. And I think it's much more about now where he can play, if he can play. So that's sort of the question. I think it's also out of question that this would not prevent Bayern from, getting more defenders in the winter break, in the winter transfer window, window. I think that's also pretty evident that Bayern is going to do that. But they need to get there first before, without, running in danger of crashing out of the major competitions before that. And so I think Boateng at best is a short-term fix, some short-term assistance, if he can be that at all. We don't know. I think we're too far away to decide from a sports perspective, whether he's he can actually add something to the squad or not. I'm unable to say that, and I think most people as well who comment on it are unable to say that, because you'd need to be close to the training pitch to really have an idea about that. So that's just all speculation. But that's not the only issue why this is debated. I mean, this is up to this point, it's just a question from a sports perspective. There's been some negative comments as well. People saying like Bayern just considering this is acting like a potential relegation candidate. Fighting against relegation and out of desperation trying everything. And some people joked like who we're going to try next, maybe Lothar Matthäus or Jürgen Klinsmann. All cheap jokes. I don't know. Bayern are where they are. I think the squad is strong, but it's thin, and this is effectively an easy option and a cheap option that could bring in some help, and I think it would be stupid not to consider it when it's on the table. So far he's just training there. They haven't really spent any money on him. Why not check it out? I think that's my opinion from a sports perspective. And then of course, if they decide to give him a contract, you have to look at how much will he actually play, and whether that was the right decision or not. But up to this point, I can't see any fault in that. But that's the sports issue. Now comes the other issue, and that makes the whole thing more complicated. And I think that's the reason why it's such a big topic in the media, because of course Boateng's career didn't just get a little bit off the rails in 21 with his move to Lyon. Also, in his private life, some things seem to go off track a bit there. Obviously, he got... there's some other things that I don't really want to talk about here, but you can read them up if you're interested in that. But I think what's the matter here really is that in 21, he got charged, had to appear in court for assaulting his former girlfriend, and he was sentenced to the equivalent of 60 days of income. 60 pay equivalent days of income, and he and his lawyers went to appeal. The attorney side also appealed, and then the verdict got to 120 installments. But then again, there was appeal from both sides, and just recently, and this is the interesting thing, in September 23, so this has gone a long way since 21, but after a second appeal and the second punishment, now in September 23, it was ruled that because of the judge being influenced by one side and other judicial errors, the whole thing will be retrialed. And that means basically anything can happen. So it could be that the new court finds him not guilty, that the new verdict finds him, a new trial finds him not, and he's cleared of all the charges. It could be that the verdict is even worse. Anything's possible. And the fact that it's being retrialed for those reasons stated, again, doesn't suggest any of the directions. So you can't say, he's not guilty, that's why they're doing it again. No, it's not possible. So anything really is an open case, which of course means that for the moment you have to assume he's innocent. But of course this will go to trial again. And what you should also know is that anything above 90 and more payday equivalents mean that under German law you're criminally convicted. You're convicted as a criminal, basically. I think that's the right way to translate it. Now, of course, here that puts the whole thing in a different side, because a lot of people say, "Hey, hi FC Bayern, listen to me. You cannot you cannot and should not, sign players that are potentially criminals. That's not right." And come in with a moral, that's of course an aspect of moral and responsibility. And Bayern already received a lot of, I think stink is the wrong word, I think a bad press for that, and there have been comments on both sides. Some say, look, first of all, he's just training, nothing has been done so far, and others say, look, it's the one argument is, look, this is a sporting decision for the moment. We have to assume he's innocent, and that means we can sign him as a player on pure sports ground. Others say, no, look, at this stage, knowing everything we know, you cannot possibly sign this player and give him the opportunity to train with the first team squad. So that's a debate going on. Personally, I think from a sports perspective, where they've also been slammed, I think it's I can't see the problem. I think you have to accept the situation as is, and there is an option, an opportunity, and you'd be dumb not to explore the opportunity. And then of course you have to decide on on facts and on things you see and things you can measure and impressions you get. The other topic, of course, is a different thing. Where do you draw the line? Where's the limit? How do you rank that? I think probably the best way would be, if that's legally possible, I don't know, if you come to the conclusion that you want to give him a contract and that you think he can be help, he can be a positive influence for the remainder of the season, then I would try, if that's possible. Again, I don't know. I'm not a working employment law lawyer. Then make a contract that's based on the fact that he's not criminally convicted. So that means if the new trial, if at all the trial is, will be completed in the remainder of the season, and if the verdict is below that threshold of being criminally convicted, then the contract remains intact, and if it's above, then that both sides agree, basically mutually agree in that work contract, that as a condition he must not be criminally convicted, and a criminal conviction would automatically lead to termination of the contract. That would be one option, one way to do it, if that's legally possible. I don't know, but if that's possible, I think that would be one way to do it. I think then probably the sort of moral aspect is served. It's clearly served, and there's the only way, I think, is to sort of accept the judicial system and say this is what guides us in this process, because that's a clear-cut line. It's either this or that. Which other court you can only use the judicial system as a sort of meter to decide that. I think anything else is not the right way to do it. Anyway, we're going to see, and if there is a decision later this afternoon or maybe over the next days, I'll let you know, either in the new video or I'll put it in the match day analysis. We'll see. Anyway, let me know what you think. Maybe you've read about it. Maybe you have different thoughts on this. As always, drop it to me in the comments, and I'll look forward to see them. And other than that, thanks for watching, and see you soon again. Bye.